I am so grateful to be here with you today after months of being shut in with the quarantine. And I'm so happy to have Harrison here to help us make this wonderful video and to have this incredible bounty of fruits and vegetables from summer to cook with. So let's get started. We have a lot to do. The first dish we're going to make is a zucchini vichyssoise. That's a soup that we're going to cook, but we're going to serve it cold, and it has all of these wonderful vegetables. So I'm going to start by melting 4 tablespoons of butter and about a tablespoon of oil in a big stock pot. While that's melting, I'm going to cut up 2 leeks. So I'm just going to quickly cut these up. And then I've got 2 cloves of garlic, and I'm just going to mince those. And then we're going to put these leeks and garlic into the hot butter and oil. Give them a quick stir. So while our leeks are softening up, I'm going to prepare our zucchini and potatoes. So the zucchini, we're just going to cut the ends off. Put them in the bowl. Next, we're going to peel these potatoes and give them a, sort of a rough chop. These are Yukon Gold potatoes, and I've got 1.5 pounds. We're going to dice these potatoes because in the end, we're just going to whir all this up and puree it. So our leeks are wilted. I'm going to go ahead now and add our zucchini and our potatoes. Give that a quick stir. Then I'm going to add a teaspoon of kosher salt, half a teaspoon of freshly ground pepper, and 4 cups of low sodium chicken broth. Okay, give that a quick stir. Then we're going to bring that up to a boil and simmer it for 25 minutes. So what we're making for dessert is this rustic peach raspberry tart. And it starts with a refrigerated pie crust. And I'm going to unroll it onto my parchment-lined baking sheet. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my peaches. I have 4 ripe peaches. I'm just going to cut them into slices and put them onto the center of our crust. So these can be thin slices. Okay, our peaches are chopped. I am going to put them into the center of my pie shell, and we're going to leave about 1.5 inches edge. And I'm just going to sprinkle some raspberries over the peaches. We're almost ready, but we need a topping. And so we're going to make a nice crumbly topping like you would for a crumble. I'm going to come over to the food processor, and into my food processor I'm going to put 1/4 cup of flour, 1/4 cup of sugar, and half a teaspoon of salt, some cinnamon, and some allspice. And I'm actually going to pulse these together to mix them. Now I'm going to add 1/2 stick of cold butter that I've cut into little chunks. And then I'll pulse that in the food processor until it all starts to come together. I'm going to bring it over and I'm going to put it into a bowl. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work this topping a little bit with my fingers. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to sprinkle it over top of my fruit. The last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take the edges of my tart, of my crust, and I'm going to start to fold them up over this fruit. There we go. The tart is ready to pop into the oven. I've preheated my oven to 450 degrees, and the tart is going to cook for 20 to 25 minutes. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to prep ingredients for our incredibly delicious summer steak salad. So I want to get started on some of the ingredients from the salad that actually need to cook. So the first thing I'm going to take a look at is the corn. I'm going to take 3 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to melt that in a big skillet. And while that's melting, I'm going to cut the kernels off of 4 ears of corn. And I just run my knife down the corn, and the towel catches most of those kernels. I can just pull up the edges of the towel, add my corn to that melted butter. So I'm just going to add a teaspoon of kosher salt and about a half a teaspoon of freshly ground pepper. And that corn will cook for about 8 to 10 minutes. Next thing we're going to do is prepare the beef fillets. So I have an iron skillet heating up on top of the stove. For the fillets, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put some olive oil on both sides, sprinkle it generously with some salt and some pepper, turn them over, and we'll do the same thing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take them over to this screeching hot pan. We're going to cook these on for 2.5 minutes on each side, and about a minute on each of the the thinner edges. Okay, I've seared my steaks. Now I'm going to take this pan and put it into a preheated 400-degree oven for 5 minutes. I think our tart is about ready to come out of the oven. Let me grab it. Isn't that pretty? Our corn has been sauteing away for about 8 minutes. It is ready to go. So I'm going to put it into a bowl. I actually want it to cool off a little bit. My vegetables are now all cooked, but it's super hot. So I'm going to take it off of the burner. It's been 5 minutes. I'm going to pull our fillets out of the oven and I'm going to let them rest for a few minutes. So this pan is so hot that I'm going to take my fillets out of the pan and have them rest on a cutting board. So this is a remoulade dressing and it is absolutely delicious. We're going to start with a cup of mayonnaise, half a cup of half and half, 1.5 teaspoons of Old Bay, 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce, 2 teaspoons of coarsely ground mustard, 2 teaspoons of horseradish. We've got a garlic clove, and we're going to take 2 teaspoons of capers, but these I want to chop up. Just whisk this up. So our vegetables for our vichyssoise are all cooked, and I'm going to use my immersion blender to blend it all up. And then the last thing we're going to do to finish off this soup before we chill it for a little bit is we are going to add about half a cup of half and half. Okay, so once this soup is finished, you just want to stick it in the refrigerator for a little while and let it cool off. Okay, so now we're ready to finish constructing our salad. I'm just going to take 2 peppers, an orange and a red, cut them up into cubes. Okay, I've got some sharp cheddar cheese, some cherry tomatoes that I've cut in half. Here's our corn that I sauteed earlier. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up our fillets. And then we'll just garnish this with a couple of radishes. And then a drizzle of our remoulade salad dressing. So our soup is chilled, and now I'm just going to garnish it with some fresh chives. And I'm just going to use my kitchen scissors. So the last thing I'm going to work on before we sit down for dinner is cocktails. And this cocktail is just so fresh and fruity. First thing I'm going to do is I am going to take some fresh fruit. I have some strawberries and some raspberries, some blueberries. And so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to add about a tablespoon of simple syrup. And I'm going to use my muddler to mash the fruit into the sugar syrup. Then next I'm going to take a slice of lemon and put it in each glass, some mint. Then I'm going to take my muddler and I'm going to muddle all of that together. Try and get that lemon juice and the oils from the herbs down in there. And the next thing I'm going to do is add some ice to the glasses. last thing is to open a bottle of bubbly. This can be Prosecco, this can be sparkling wine, this can be champagne, but that's going to add that nice bubbly finish to it. Cocktails are made. I am ready for my guests. I can't wait to welcome everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this video.